early. And during our D&D time, we're not playing D&D right now. It leaves me a little sad. But some M19. So what do you want to do? You want to do competitive? What's your preference? Competitive draft or the quick draft? So they're both M19 right now. Oh, I should share screens.
Whichever you would prefer.
Okay. I actually prefer, having played a little bit more, the ones where I can sideboard in response. It takes longer to finish versus your opponents, and your deck needs a little bit more depth to it to really adapt well. I feel like the really gimmicky, like super ridiculous win conditions are easier to get to work in the time you only play them once.
Filthy sub.
Thanks for that. Welcome back, JoinRBs. 18 months. Are you hearing me twice? That'd be amazing.
No, I have your stream muted. I actually have you muted on the call as well. I don't want to listen to anything you say.
That's fair.
Yeah, we can do sideboarded stuff. I agree. It's a little bit more interesting to build the deck when sideboarding's in mind as well.
The only downside is, of course, it's more expensive, and I lost I went 2 decks with less than 2 wins in that mode yesterday from Landskers, so I was very salty.
Do you have you yet added a column to your spreadsheet budget for like MTG?
No,
drafts?
I haven't paid yet. I only purchased that intro one for $5 at one time.
You're just like playing constructed for the entry fees.
They gave me some gems as well.
All right.
Okay, so let's grab a competitive draft. We're gonna do a competitive draft. We're drafting with Steve, guys. Last time, you guys described him as chat's #1 enemy, and I found that strange, but I'm sure you guys will be exactly on the same page for all your picks and decisions today, right?
Is Magic Chat typically like
trying
to help you play well? Or Slay the Spire Chat just says to do the most terrible thing every time?
Yeah, actually. I found that to be the case.
That's weird.
Very
different.
So when I change my screen orientation, it also moves all my fucking icons around. Let me find Deck Master so they can see what we're doing. This seems like a very easy pick to me, but I'll talk about it in just a second. Let me just fire that back up. Okay, so by the way, I find green to be roughly twice as good in competitive draft as it is in quick draft. Like, I'm exaggerating for effect here.
The sideboarding?
Yeah, because Plummet and Naturalize are both really solid green sideboards, and the deck changes the most as green.
And also, I think green is very able to splash colors for other sideboardy stuff.
Yeah, yep. So I look at this pack. I played a deck yesterday with 5 Essence Scatters, by the way. It was too many. It was fun, but it was too many. I must say the deck didn't do that well, but mostly because of land issues, and that was the one where I got screwed on the sideboarding bug. But my favorite part of the entire day of streaming yesterday was when I played the 5th Essence Scatter on the one guy, and you know it shows you when he looks through your graveyard on this client, and he like moused over the card and then went immediately to the graveyard and was mousing over the graveyard because he was fucking counting them, because he's like, are you shitting me? That's the 5th Essence Scatter. And I was so pleased. Like, seeing his reaction through the client, even in that limited format, made that very beautiful to me.
I was that guy in a Magic PTQ once. A guy played 4 copies of Innocent Blood on me in the first 5 turns of a constructed game, which are 60 card decks where you can only have 4 copies of the card.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. So this to me is a very easy Demon of Catastrophe. This card is fucking nuts. It's a 6/6 flying trample for 4, and it just requires you sack a creature. So other options in here, Druid of the Cow. I haven't seen this card actually be good yet. I keep getting told it's good, and a 1/3 body is fine, but I've yet to see a ramp archetype actually do anything. So I've seen green decks win. I've seen decent creatures come out, and having it a little bit accelerated sometimes is relevant, but often isn't. Rabid Bite's very solid. Hieromancer's Cage is very, very solid. But of these, this is probably the best removal spell here. This is okay. This is a sorcery is the downside of this. And this card is just a bomb. So I would pick this card up. Any issues with that? Okay. Sold. So we're committed pretty heavy to black on the first pick, I guess. I look at this and I'm pretty underwhelmed by all of our options. This card does very well in red-blue, surprisingly. This card, I guess we could consider 3 color splashes on the second pick, but it seems kind of crazy. This card's all right as well. 3 for a 2/2. Have you seen all the cards? You know, do I need to mouse over and show you, or are you pretty familiar with them now?
I think I know. There might be a couple of uncommons that I'd want to read again, but I think I know the cards.
Skeleton Archer is a mediocre creature that occasionally gets value out of this. 4 for a 3/3 for 1 ping is okay. Abnormal Endurance is probably my favorite combat trick. Maybe not. Maybe my second or third favorite combat trick, but I don't want to draft it this early. We're going to get a million of them. It's just the only black cards worth looking at. Well, rather talking about, because the only black cards in this pack. Take Vengeance is a really solid removal card. It is picking a second color right now, but these black cards are pretty underwhelming to me. The Archers maybe, but I don't think it's worth the second pick, if that makes any sense. So I would grab Take Vengeance and feel like there's not a lot to talk about here, but if you have more, I would love to hear it. Maybe Gift of Paradise for mana fixing or something, but...
Black-white is a strong color combination, especially with sacrifice synergies, right?
Yeah.
White does some stuff with that.
White has some token generation, and black has a lot of sacrifice synergy.
Yeah, and we already took a Demon of Catastrophes, where we want to make sure that we have, like, small, low-value creatures in play early.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. So, no real argument there for Take Vengeance. Against that, rather. So... This is turning out really good already. It's hard to call this premium removal because it's a fucking 5 mana cost sorcery, but it's kind of premium removal in this set, which makes that very tempting. But this card like single-handedly wins games. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I don't know if I consider it like a bomb in the same tier of Demon of Catastrophes, but it's pretty damn close.
Very good anytime that your board stalls as well, right?
Yeah, and also good if you're running lots of little creatures like black sacrifice decks.
How do you feel about playing 3 colors
I think
in this format?
I think it's fairly common to do that, to splash a third color. And I think splashing for Poison Tip Archer has won me games before.
I would assume that we would be splashing for white more than...
Well, I think it's impossible to tell right now. It's likely that we've splashed for white because white has a lot of just removals that you often pick up. But on the third pick, I don't know which we'd splash. But I'm okay splashing 3 colors, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I agree that the Poison Tip is a stronger card. It's especially strong on like board stall sort of situations, which I think white gets into more than... Or sorry, I think that green gets into those more than white does.
I think it's very easy right now and a very common archetype to build. I know you hate that when I talk about decks as archetypes, but
I think that archetype works in this game.
You just don't think it applies to Slay Spire? Interesting. Okay, but where I'm going with this is I feel like a lot of players build black-white decks that way deliberately because of Neonates and Epicures in this format. So a lot of people are playing a board style game. So I think Poison Tip is maybe even stronger because of that. So sure. I would take this card.
Yeah.
But I could be talking Delicious Caress, you know? Okay.
No, let's do Poison Tip.
Maybe we'll get a second one too.
There are like all the mana elves in green that we can take for Demon of Catastrophes as well.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I see lots of sacrifice synergetic cards. First of all, I see a duel, which is great. I may be a little bit early for this, especially Doom Dissenter has a very solid 2-drop that has really good synergy with both Poison Tip and Demon of Catastrophe. I like 2-headed zombies growing on me. I don't think it's worth picking right now, but I think it's worth mentioning. I think Menace, the more I play, the stronger Menace feels to me as a effect. So I've been actually really surprised with how well 2-headed zombies perform. Skeleton Archer, again, mediocre, but okay. The Daybreak Chaplain's great for stalling a board and a creature I'm generally okay sacrificing to Demon. The Novice Knight's kind of same deal. It's a 2/3 defender creature, which is a little bit weak, but for 1 mana, pretty nice cost. But I would pick Dissenter here and be pretty happy about it. Maybe you could talk me into Sanctuary.
I would also either pick Sanctuary or Dissenter, and I'm not sure which one's better.
I think we might get another Dissenter. I'm not sure we'll get another Sanctuary. I mean, they're both commons, I suppose, but this is a land common. You only get the 1 in land per pack, right? So, and it's between all the duels. Where
is that how it works now? You only get 1
land per pack
at a Forsaken Sanctuary.
I don't know about 1 chance at a Forsaken Sanctuary, but it's 1 land per pack, and I assume it's split even distribution between all the duels.
My thought process on like building a mana base with card picks in this game and limited is that like if I don't spend any picks at all on my mana, I need 23 playable cards, and then I'm going to play 17 basic lands, and that's what my deck's going to be. But if I start spending picks on my mana base as well, I'm starting to need, like, if we take this for Forsaken Sanctuary, now we need 24 good picks in the draft, because we're only playing 16 basics. So it's a matter of how deep I think the card pool is to get those 24 playables versus like how much I'm benefiting from expanding my ability to play cards. And I think Forsaken Sanctuary puts us in 3 good colors, which gives us more colors to draw our playables out of, and we already have good reasons to take it. But I'm not sure exactly whether this format's like Dissenter format or a Forsaken Sanctuary format here.
Okay. I think I had this intro. I draft sometimes with Legend VD as well. Been having a lot of fun with that. But he likes to do what you just did, which is as the second person offer insight into both sides and then not come to a conclusion. And I like the insight on both sides. I hear the argument for both sides, and I like the explanation. That's actually a really useful explanation. Thinking about drafting a land is essentially adding to the number of playable cards you have to draft. I hadn't thought about it that way before. But at the end of the day, I also have to pick a card. And I guess when I look at this right now, I lean towards the Sanctuary here slightly. And for the reasons that it's, although they're both common, they're not really both common. And I can see a black-green deck being a really solid deck with just some white splash, in which case I really don't want to have to invest in white mana sources, especially if I'm looking at Demon of Catastrophe, like where I want to play that on turn 4 with 2 black mana. And maybe if we get lucky and get a Murder or a Vampire Sovereign or something, where the 2 black mana is actually going to be relevant. So I feel like we'll have other options for disposable creatures, but we may not have other options for dual fixing. But I want to hear. What would you pick?
I would pick Forsaken Sanctuary.
Okay, done.
But I'm not a Pro Tour level player in this format.
All right, so another Doom Dissenter over there. Rise from the Grave is pretty solid. It can pull from either side. It generally doesn't get punished except versus blue, which bounces it right back to their own hand after you pull it from their graveyard. But you can play around that if you're not retarded, but sometimes, like me yesterday, I just play into that.
Is Demon when you cast or when it comes into play? It's when you cast, so it works favorably with Demon as well.
Really? It doesn't trigger again? I'm pretty sure it triggers again. No, it definitely does say cost. Or cast the spell. Huh, I would have assumed you would have to sacrifice again.
Yeah, well, I have no idea whether that card's better than Doom Dissenter. Like, I just don't know in terms of the speed of the format and things. I could not tell you. But in a slower format, Rise from the Grave seems like a better card, and Doom Dissenter seems better if we're really gung-ho about our synergies with sacrificing and the format's a little bit faster.
It does have Poison Tip Archer synergy too. The Dissenter.
I guess they both have Poison Tip Archer synergy, sort of.
Yeah.
A new subscriber arrives. It fills you with determination.
Welcome, Mr. Snow. Thanks for the sub. Welcome to the channel. I look at this, and the greedy part of me wants to grab Rise from the Grave. The kind of like just play it safe would pick Doom Dissenter here. I guess I kind of want to grab Rise from the Grave. Any final thoughts?
Another way to frame the thought about this pick is we can think about whether we are trying to shore up our games which end quickly or our games which end late right now. Like which of those games we're weakest in and where the pick will be most impactful. And we do already have a Poison Tip Archer and a 6/6 Flying Trampler, so we have reason to think that we're already pretty good in games that go late. So maybe that could be an argument for Dissenter. But it's only 4 picks into the draft, so on the other hand, that's not yet a gigantic thing to be thinking about.
How relevant for you is the common versus uncommon here?
As I don't even care a little bit.
Really? So I would look at this as we're probably never getting another shot at a Rise from the Grave, and we're likely, I mean, we've already seen 2 Doom Dissenters. We're likely to get a shot at another Doom Dissenter.
But there are cards which are comparable to Rise from the Grave in terms of which games they win. Like there's a huge body of cards which the general idea of Rise from the Grave is that we're getting good value in a longer game out of this card. And there are tons of cards in the game which do that. We don't need specifically Rise from the Grave to get that.
Hey chat, you're saying, I want to just address a comment in chat. Savage Owl says, it's like Legend said, when in doubt, pick the lowest card cost. I think that's an interesting rule of thumb, but I think it really falls apart if you think about this. I'm in doubt on every single pick, every single choice I make, I'm in doubt of. Not in the fact that I'm like double checking or double guessing myself, but all of these are percentage plays, at least in my mind, right? Like every once in a while you're like, this is the best card 100%, no problem. But most of the time you're like 60-40, 70-30, or some variation of that when you're determining these. So in doubt is a state I'm in constantly when I'm drafting, at least for me, right? So yeah, I don't know. I could get behind the Doom Dissenter. I think the more I think about this, maybe I love the synergy with Demon and Catastrophe to pull it back. I love the idea. I mean, pulling back bombs is so damn strong, and this is probably this is actually probably one of the most mana efficient ways of getting creatures back out of the graveyard, like without having to play them again. Like for 5, it almost always is pretty time and mana efficient. I don't know. I think we're taking a long time on this. I guess I'm moving towards the center, but I really want the Rise from the Grave.
Yep. It's worth taking time on this, right? We're talking about reasonable things. And you can go all the way with your archetype comment and start thinking about actually drafting a constructed deck and think about, like, if I was constructing a deck for this format, how much do I care about 2-drops versus how much do I care about Rise from the Graves? And I suspect that if you were thinking about it from a constructing a deck sort of standpoint, Doom Dissenter is like a very, very standout 2-drop for the sort of thing that you're doing.
I think you're right.
So that's probably a very valuable thing to be adding to your deck.
So we've offered quite a few now towards Doom Dissenter. The mana cost, if you're building a constructed deck here, if you're looking at late game versus early game, these are all pretty solid arguments for Doom Dissenter. It's funny, my gut tells me to go here, but my gut is still learning, so my gut might not know. Are you ever surprised by that? I'm constantly surprised by how much, even when I'm in an expert mode of a game that I've played a million times, how much of the processing goes by unconsciously. And then it just represents as in feelings of this feels like the better pick. And sometimes you can add rationale afterwards, and sometimes you can do it midway through. But yeah.
Yeah, I've played games where my subconscious has clicked on the decision for me without it ever even entering the thinking part of my mind, and not like first-person shooters, like strategy games.
Yeah, exactly.
Turn-based.
Yep, for sure. I've read some really cool. I should recommend. Have you ever read Blind Sight by Peter Watts? Do you like sci-fi?
No, I have not read that.
This
one.
is probably
I like sci-fi.
Probably my favorite fiction novel in the last 10 years that I've read.
I'm looking for a book.
Plays a lot with consciousness, and the consciousness is basically an unnecessary element of intelligence and also a parasitic element of your mind, which is a really cool. It's such a fucking cool book. But very reminiscent. It's one of those books that just has changed the way I think about things and had an impact in a way that I never expected a fiction book to have. So it's relevant here. All right. When I look at this set, I see the Neonate as the general black-white stally kind of archetype thing that does finish games, and it's fine, and it's actually fairly strong, but not amazing. Mine Rot as a decent sideboard card, probably not getting main deck, but maybe. Two-Headed Zombie is a fairly decent damage source, and our deck is actually looking fairly aggressive, although it's a 4-mana cost card, and you're going to see a lot of Two-Headed Zombies. They don't get drafted very much for whatever reason. And then Epicure of Blood as the other element of the life gain synergy stuff. I don't actually think very much of 5 for a 4/4 body, especially on Epicure, because almost always when you're playing Epicure, you're babying him because you want his effect to happen. And I'm not sure this is going to be a type of deck that does that, but it might. I mean, we might end up black-white with a splash of green. We might end up with black-green with a splash of white. I don't know yet. What'd you take?
I just take Neonate. It's really good.
Okay. What do you say? Why do you say really good? Because I think this card is very annoying. I think a 0/3 blocker that is available to soak up damage is fucking annoying as shit, with an ability that you don't have to activate, but it's decent when you do is decent. And
yeah.
Another sacrifice target.
Okay. So I think, I don't know everything about this format, but one thing that I've noticed about this format is that it is somewhat difficult to spend your mana later on in the game. And spending your mana on any sort of output is really nice. And this is a 1-drop, so it's nice to have 1-drops. And it's also a 1-drop that lets you spend 2 mana to basically get 2 damage swings that are unblockable.
Yeah. Chat. Someone in chat just pointed out Wall of Vines, and I just want to compare these for chat right now. We know we're going black. We don't know necessarily that we're going green yet. They're both 0/3s. Yes, this is a defender, and this isn't not really relevant for 0 power. But man, reach versus the pinging effect. Just I'm not super excited about the Wall of Vines, where the Neonate has a lot of synergies with other life gain effects, and as Steve was just saying, has a mana sink. Just pointing that out for that comment. Okay, red-white duel. You want to go 4 colors? Inspired Charge for
an act of treason.
Act of Treason. Yeah, that card. I have lost to that card. I lost. I don't know if you were watching this when I lost to a double cast Act of Treason the other day.
That's really funny.
Yeah, on the
Build your
turn
own
before.
insurrection.
On the right, build your own insurrection. On the turn before, I would have fucking killed him too. To me, I don't see a lot to talk about. Oh, I do actually see a little bit to talk about. I just remembered we're playing green potentially as well. This fits black green really nicely, and it's a decent creature. Abnormal endurances are like a dime a dozen, so we'll get more of those if we want them. I think this is one of my preferred combat tricks, but not my favorite. I think I prefer Titanic Growth to this, but this is still a pretty damn good one. Yeah. So has synergy with our Poison Tip Archer too, but I'd probably take the Spider. I know you're a Spider fan. Spider
So
here?
anyway, you can like, are there any comes into play effects in this format where we could do saucy abnormal endurance and then sacrifice our own creature for a proc?
Let me turn you up for just a second. I'm doing one thing at a time, and then we can talk about that. User volume. All right, say something again.
I was wondering if we could like draft a Meteor Golem and then cast Abnormal Endurance on it and cast our Demon of Catastrophes, but it's probably a little bit too 4D chess.
Yeah,
Giant Spider is just a good card.
there are quite a few things that have synergies with Abnormal Endurance. There's a lot of Battle Cry style effects, things like Sovereigns and, you know, I don't know, there's a bunch. Like, I'm looking at our deck right now. We have 2 that synergize with Abnormal Endurance. We have the Dissenter plus the Poison Tip Archer both synergize with that. And there's a bunch more in black in particular. So maybe.
I would absolutely play an Abnormal Endurance in this deck, but I guess I'd pick Giant Spider because it just seems like a more powerful card.
Yeah, I think we'll get another Abnormal Endurance. Oh, there's
Or
another Spider.
Another Giant Spider.
Would you play another one? I would.
How many 4-drops do you think the deck can play?
I think I'm looking at
4 or
sideboards.
5?
I'm looking at sideboards right now. So I suppose.
Sideboards even.
Yeah, I'm looking at. I mean, the only other one that really sticks out to me is the Macabre Waltz, which isn't bad,
Yeah.
and we have 2 creatures that are pretty high value creatures. I could be talking to the Waltz if you prefer that to a second Spider. I don't think we want to play a million 4-drops, and we already have a Spider creature as well as a Spider as well as a
we
flyer
have
for
2
4.
Giant Spiders. We have a Giant Spider and a Giant Spider Plus already, basically.
Yep. Now he's too loud. Cut the difference. All right, let's calm the fuck down with that. I moved him from 185% to 200% on Discord is what I just moved him from, and now it's too loud versus maybe you need to be a little less sensitive, friend. So, all right. Anyways, so dear God, like
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the Waltz effect, it's very similar to the Rise from the Grave effect that we passed earlier.
Much slower.
The same. It is slower, yeah.
but more value. You
but-
do discard a land for 2 creatures.
Exactly, and getting something like that into your deck is really nice, and we don't have it yet.
Yeah, I think I lean towards Waltz over Spider when I look at this for more than half a second. All right,
Yep. I would probably only want
1 Waltz.
1 or maybe 2.
I don't
in
think
my
I
deck.
want 2. So Recollect is a less efficient Waltz in every way. More mana, doesn't get 2. I guess it's not just creatures, but
Can get back Waltz.
yeah, we could Recollect our Waltz and be really sad. I guess we can Recollect fucking removal too. But right now we're not looking very white heavy. We're looking just pretty green-black. Pretty black mostly. Duress as a sideboard card for counters seems meh in this format. I think I'd rather most of the time run Mind Rot than this. And Child of Night is a 2-drop that I'm happy to sacrifice. This card has gone lower and lower. The more I play this format, the less I like this card. It just doesn't trade with anything.
And there's a lot of stuff that accidentally deals 1 damage, like Skeleton Archer.
Yep. Yep. Hey,
Yeah, I
TBC.
think Child of Night is a card I would put in my sideboard. I don't think I would main deck it,
Well,
usually.
we could pick up Invoke the Divine as a better sideboard card. If we're looking at this is a sideboard card, this is a sideboard card, this is a sideboard card, and this is a joke, then I guess I'm looking at Invoke the Divine as the best sideboard card, although it may be not in a color that we're playing.
Okay. There's like a come into play destroy artifact enchantment thing in green, but it's uncommon, right?
Yes.
So there's not like a ton of other ways to get that effect.
For black green has Naturalize for one green,
I'd
one
rather
other.
play Invoke
Yeah.
and Naturalize that.
For sure, it's better. Okay. Let's grab an Invoke. We have no artifacts, although this effect is pretty good, and I like a 2/3 body. Or we could just pick up Thornhide Wolves. Getting high end a little bit, but a 4/5 is pretty damn good, both blocking and attacking. So I could be talking to either. I'm leaning towards the wolves, but the 3-drop is, we have no 3-drops creature-wise. So maybe there's something to be said about grabbing a, but then again, what are our colors? So it's tough to say. This is in green, this is in white. Are we getting close enough to make a decision? It's pack 1. Are we splashing green or splashing white?
I don't know what to play either. I lean Pack Beast rather than Wolves because I think there are better 5 and 6 drops, and I think there are some really, really strong things that Pack Beast could interact with, although we don't have any of them yet, but it's only pack 1, so...
Okay, this is a pretty premium...
There's time to pick him up.
Pretty premium 5. I mean, not... I mean...
Do you think Pack Beast comes around in other packs as well? Maybe Thornhide Wolves is better than I'm giving it credit for.
I think both come around in other packs. I say premium only in the sense that 4/5 is a decent set of stats. There's a lot of better 5-drop things out there. I'm thinking like the Oracle that draws your cards and stuff like that. But 4/5 is pretty solid stats. I guess I'm torn here. My suspicion is right now we're splashing white with playing green, but I guess I'm not knowing that for sure. I mean, it's only the giant spider who's making that versus Take Vengeance. I like a 2/3 body. I'm okay dropping the Pack Beast, but feel a little bit torn towards the wolves.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, a naturalize. I guess we can throw that in there. Do you like Talons of Wildwood? It's an aura effect that doesn't screw us and gives trample.
I think this is not the deck that usually plays Talons. I think the deck that usually plays Talons has like aggressive 2 and 3 drops and doesn't have Poison Tip Archer and
so this is a naturalize for you.
Catastrophe and Neonate. Yeah, I don't expect either of them to do much, right?
Yeah. Ooh, Doom to Center.
Awesome.
Seems, I don't think we need another 4, even though it's a good 4. Okay, I'll take the Guardian, but I'm not expecting to play it, just in case we want Artifact Synergy.
It's only, like, it's 1 less power from the 4/5, and it comes back with Trusty Pack Beast.
Yeah.
I'm more excited about that than you are.
Yeah, maybe that's a point worth talking about when we actually fix the deck, because that card is very unexciting to me when I'm not playing blue. It's quite good as blue. I like 5 for a 5/5. Okay, so this is kind of a nutso pack for us.
Holy shit, there's the Green Seeker too.
Oh, you were gonna click that, but I think this is what the conversation is about to be. So this card is okay.
Yeah, I don't know what this card does.
Yeah, I've never drafted it. So creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast, of which we have 1 right now. We can cast a demon for 2, but we can only do that after turn 5 or after. Whenever he attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and trample to end of turn. For 4/4/4/3. I think very powerful card. At the moment, I think it does literally nothing for our deck.
Yeah, I think Green Seeker is way better than that.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite green card right now. So, but then, I mean, look at the depth of this, right? This.
Yeah, we'll get something.
That are all
sure.
quasi-playable.
There's no way that we don't get another playable card out of this pack on the lap round.
Yeah, but that's.
Yeah, I just saw the funny border on a green rare and thought, oh, we're taking
holy
that one.
Fuck! All right.
And then we got a Green Seeker instead.
So
what's happening here?
We just got 2. Okay, I'll go by least excited to most excited for things that are still relevant to us. The Boar, definitely a solid 4/3 creature. That I love this effect. Can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. There's so many times you can make that annoying. Any sort of enchantment, any sort of like tunnel effect, anything that's great, right? Strangling Spores. It's supposedly removal. Some people call it a combat trick. I don't really like this card, but it's removal, right? The Sovereign. Oh, no, sorry. The Angel of Faith here, which I think is slightly worse than the Sovereign, but really good. 4/3 flyer when it. By the way, I had this question to chat to me yesterday when we went back and forth on this. Which card do you like more, just in isolation? Herald of Faith, 5 for a 4/3 flyer, attacking, gains you 2 life. Or Sovereign, 5 for a 3/4 flyer, battle cry effect, heals you for 3, deals 3 to them.
Sovereign?
Yeah, that's what I went to. Close though, right? I went Sovereign too. But anyways, so for our deck, this is the best removal in the format in my opinion. It's an instant for 3.
Yeah.
And I think I murder over Sovereign, but I'm really close. And I'm going to be sad when Sovereign doesn't come around because it won't. So I don't think I can get away from that. We're already predominantly black. You'd take Sovereign over murder. Okay, this is interesting.
No, I would take murder over Sovereign, and I wouldn't think it was close.
Okay, that's what's...
Maybe I'm undervaluing Sovereign.
I just feel like 3/4 punches through pretty much everything. Flying. I guess that doesn't, but it's so
yeah. Maybe if I didn't have a Demon of Catastrophes and Poison Tip Archer already, I'd be like, ooh, a flyer. But in this deck with the creatures we have, I'm just not that excited by it.
How do you feel about an elf we can sacrifice? So the only other cards
Oh,
is
a lot less good than I do about like a Green Seeker or a guy who gets a land.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. This is a poor man's Green Seeker for fucking sure. But it's still a
Also
1/3.
the 3-cost 1/1 I'd rather have than the 1/3 in this deck, I think.
3-cost 1/1 rather than the 1/3. What's the
3-cost 1/1 who gets a land from your top 5?
Oh, that's interesting. I found neither of them to be very good.
Green. That's my issue.
Yes,
yeah,
that's true.
I would probably take it out of. I'm just trying to.
So we're not playing
card,
with this,
right?
right? This card is not good for us. We're not playing auras, and I don't think it's even that good when you. I think when you splash a couple auras, I don't think this card's very good. When you have a fuck ton of auras, maybe, but Chaplain maybe. Gallant Cavalry is all right. We're looking like green to us though, to me, especially if we're running an early Green Seeker. We want early green mana, so white seems to be probably the splash color. Epicure has some synergy with not our deck. Oh, that's not true. We have a Neonate, so Epicure does something for us. Bog Stomper is a very expensive big 6/5, but I think we're in green. We'll probably find better big creatures. So of those, I only get excited about the Druid. And again, this card has been, from the way I have experienced this card, it has been massively overrated by every ranking site I've seen. In other words, it hasn't done a lot for me.
I think that green has a lot of trouble with the mana acceleration that's available in M19 because it doesn't have anything to do with the mana late game except for like play 2 creatures, and then there's no like ability to sink it in really. We have a Neonate in our deck already.
Yep. And but
like that's it sort of. We have a Waltz.
There's an uncommon green that I've gotten a lot of value out. It's something Guide. It's a 3 for a 3/2 that has an activatable ability for 3 mana that doesn't tap it, that lets you make one of your creatures become unblockable by anything with power 2 or less.
Yeah,
I'm getting a lot of value out of
like that.
Yeah.
Some sort of creature like that is exactly what Druid of the Cal gets a ton of value out of in a lot of other formats, but I think in this format there just aren't very many creatures like that.
Okay, so then, in other words, I might not be insane. You might be saying that this is not as good as it could be. I still think it's probably a pick here, right? Like,
yeah, I'm
here.
still happy to take it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just not that excited about the Druid or the 1/1 who accelerates for green in this format.
So I get told I overvalue this next card way too much. I think this card is amazing. It's really good for any sort of stall board.
Pack Beast.
Yep. I have synergized it.
This card's amazing.
I know, and I know you hate this card, but I feel like I get artifact synergies out of this. I get a consistent source of life gain that often gets me 4 to 5 life and across the course of the game, which allows me to block the most efficient way possible. And then I get to sacrifice this at some point for a card. Like, all of those things to me are really good. And I look at it in comparison.
It comes back with Pack Beast.
Yes, and we already have Pack Beast. And the decks that it tends to be good in are the black-white life gain style decks. I don't know. So, I mean, we could look at this. We have Hired Blade, which has grown on me a little bit, mostly because it kills fucking Starcrown Stag, which I really like.
Fountain works with Epicure, which we just didn't take, doesn't it?
Yeah, but Epicure is a common. We have a pack and a half.
Taken Epicure over Druid of the Cow. I'm so unexcited by the Druid of the Cow.
That's a really interesting option because, as I was saying, like, this card that gets super high on the tier list, and then when I played it, it's been really poor for me every single time I've played it. So we'll see.
Like, the type of deck that goes in, I don't think really exists in this format. But in other formats, it does.
So
that would be my explanation.
So my take home should be...
I don't have as much experience as other people who are making those tier lists, probably, so maybe I'm missing something.
A normal endurance, decent. I don't think we want Child of Night. Hired Blade.
Go Fountain of Renewal. Let's, roll it up. Convince me.
Okay. Do you like Resembling Skeleton? I think this card is pretty solid with our Poison Tip Archer. The Sentinel is just a 2-drop.
We can sacrifice it, and we can do something with mana later on in the game.
The other ones to maybe talk about are the Priest. The Priest is surprisingly good. And I think you were the one who initially sold me on this, and I've found that to be true across the course of all the games. Life gain is better in this game than it is in Hearthstone, which was something that's been interesting to me. In the same way that toughness is a lot better in Power in this game, the opposite way of Hearthstone is very interesting too. I'd take Resembling Skeleton, though. Be pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I don't really see why not. I mean, I didn't see another card in that pack that seemed strong.
There's
an
that Epicure if you want the Epicure. There's the guide I'm talking about.
Ooh.
Are we
I
attacking?
think we have enough, though. We have a Neonate and a Reassembling Skeleton. Like,
You want to get our curve? See, we have no 3-drop creature. Oh, we have the Pack Beasts as our only 3 right now. We've got a lot of 2s right now. We're running 5 playable 2s right now.
I don't think Druid of the Cowl is even making the cut.
That's funny. That's funny. I'm actually really excited about this because this card has been shit for me, and I'm excited to have someone be like, "Yeah, you should cut this." Everyone else is like, "You should play that card. It's really good." So
I don't know. I'm just looking at our deck, and we're gonna like play it and then accelerate it into a 4-drop, and then it's gonna be a 1/3 for the rest of the game.
yeah, it's even worse than that though, because most times you don't play it on 2 and accelerate. Most times you play it when you draw it on turn like 9, and you play a fucking 1/3, and you're like, "Great, now I have +1 mana. What a deal."
Well, I'm happy to go either way, Guide or Epicure. I think that there's a pretty strong argument for Guide, based on how our deck looks right now, and there's a less strong argument for Epicure in particular on our deck. Like,
I think this card is super good.
Cards, basically. Yeah.
Man,
right. They really don't like giant spiders, these bots.
No. Would you pick a 3rd giant spider over a 5? We now to the point we don't have a 5, but we'd like an Epicure at some point, so maybe. I'd pick the wolves. I feel like wolves got better with guide, but I like wolves. But you could talk me into spider if you really want to do that. You could also be talking to invoke.
I'd rather have a wolves than a spider at this point.
Would you talk about the day? I think we have enough 2s that the Daybreak Chaplain's not very interesting to me, and I could be talked into another invoke, but I'm not super excited about it.
I'm happy with wolves. That's like one of the top 7 cards in our pile of cards, probably, in terms of how excited I am. So
nothing is exciting here at all to me whatsoever for our colors. I actually think Instigator's fairly good, but not for us, clearly. Divination's fairly good. I've had Anticipate be played a lot against me. Do you like this card? Would this card make a...
It's just a filler card.
Would this... if you had other playables in, this would get cut?
It depends. If you're like... Okay, so if you have 3 bomb cards... and your deck's going to win by playing your 3 bomb cards, then Anticipate's like one of the best commons you can play in terms of making your bomb cards get played more often. If your deck doesn't revolve around bombs as much and is about like playing a bunch of 3/2 flyers, then it has some combat tricks, then Anticipate goes down a lot in value.
It's a good way to think about that. So I'd Child of Night here, and because it's the only card, and then put it in the sideboard and never play it again. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, unless you want something for constructed.
I don't think any of these help me. I mean, these are crafting uncommons is super easy. Crafting rares is the choke point in the in that. Okay, so we have Foul Orchard. Seems pretty damn. This is the first pack, right? So we have Foul Orchard or Neonate, or I don't think this card's playable. I don't think a second Waltz is playable. So for me, it's between these. I don't really want a second Neonate. I'd take the Foul Orchard and be pretty happy.
I'd also take the Foul Orchard, although I would be happy with a Neonate. But I think we have enough depth that we can spend to pick on a land. Okay. And it's a very valuable land.
I'm thinking Invoke the Divine, unless you have a strong argument for mana acceleration that we can't use.
Nope.
Okay. How do you feel about a 6-drop? Just in case.
I actually feel pretty good about it.
Me too.
Probably main deck it right now.
Yep. All right. There's our Abnormal Endurance. Pretty excited about that.
Feel great about that too.
I think that gets played. We could still grab a Timber Gorge in case.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
There are some red cards we might want to play, like a Banefire or something.
Zombie might get play. We'll see. Deck's looking more aggressive than I initially gave it credit for, and we're pretty low on bombs right now. Okay. Do you like Wrath of God?
Yeah.
Do you like it over single target removal? Or sacrifice?
Ravenous Harpy. I think it's a Ravenous Harpy, right?
Okay, so this is worth discussing because let's go from my least favorite again, right? Boar, like him. I think Boar is a solid creature. Epicure's here. Another Dissenter. All good synergy with our deck. The Dissenters in particular are great with Poison Tip. Starcrown Stag.
Wield that Dissenter based on how the table's been going so far. We'll either wield Dissenter or Epicure, I think, out of this pack.
Stag is fucking ape shit. This card is disgustingly hard to play against. It just like if they have aggro going and you don't have like perfect answers, like a lot of times it just fucks you. Bonds is premium removal. I know it seems weird, but it's just
Bonds
really
is
good.
great.
Yeah.
No, Bonds is great.
Sure. I think Nova, I'd love to play this, but I don't think we're seeing 2 white, and I don't think it has any synergy with their deck because we're looking for stalled boards and killing shit. But
well, if we have Poison Tip Archer and play it, domes them for like 8.
That's true. And I haven't seen Harpy be good yet, but we don't have a lot of flyers.
You haven't seen Harpy be good yet?
No, I'm not arguing that. I think this has amazing synergy with our deck, like unbelievable synergy with our deck. But I haven't seen a game yet where it's done something either to me or against me yet. So I'm sure it could, but it has the potential. I just haven't seen it happen yet. I don't know between the Bonds and the Harpy here. Those are close to me. The Stag is close, but it's not as good as those two. These two are quite a bit lower than either of those.
I don't know how bots draft in this like setup, but if you're at a regular table, something that you consider very heavily here is that there are 3 black cards which you're happy to have in your deck, and there may not be 3 other players who are going to take one of those black cards on the other 7 seats in the table. So taking like a white card and expecting to get the 3rd best black card back is a real thing. I don't know if that works with bots.
Sorry, I'm not sure I understood. So say that again. So you're expecting right now that if I missed the first part of it because I was reading chat, and that's probably the wrong thing to do.
So if you send a pack out with 3 black cards that you want in your deck, there's a better chance you get a black card back than if you send one with 2, is what I was saying. So it might be a situation where if we take Ravenous Harpy, we don't see a card that we care about the second time we see the pack, whereas if we take Stark Ravenous Stag, we see like Doomed Dissenter when it comes back.
I don't think you'd take Stag over Bonds. I wouldn't. Not with that white splash.
Sorry, I wasn't. I was focusing on the example instead of like actually what the pack had in it.
Is this worth talking about the fact that we
Bonds.
aren't probably playing white right now? So we have sideboard for removal that we can
That's why I'm not very excited about the white cards as well. That's like the other part of why Harpy seems good to me.
So I think we're on the same
Epic
page.
Hero back.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think if we pick Bonds, we'll get something black back. I think that's reasonable, but I think Harpy's probably better here.
Okay.
All right. Stag, Scarring, Bite. You like Bite?
Yes.
Same. Okay. We've got a 3. Couple 3s there, and another Neonate. We don't have a lot of 3 drops. Is that relevant to you? Do you like a Hired Blade or a Courser? Courser seems more solid, but this is a lot of flexibility. There's also a Neonate. It's Wall of Vines, but if you pick that, we're ending the call.
I would probably take Neonate, but I could be talked into a 3 as well.
We have no Epicure right now. Not that I mean, Epicure just makes that twice as much damage, right? I don't mind the Neonate. It is a mana sink, but we now have the Resembling Skeleton and the Guide, so we probably have mana sinks. I'm not massively excited about another Neonate right now. I guess we do whittle them down between Poison Tip. I kind of like the idea of a 3 here.
Yeah, I agree that we don't have enough 3s.
So I suppose I would probably take Blade over Courser. Courser, okay. This is maybe worth talking about too. So the first time I think we drafted, you pushed Courser over Guide, or maybe that was someone else. I think someone was pushing Courser over Guide, and I prefer Guide to Courser. And that's a 3-2 with extra text. And here we're looking at a 3-2 with extra text versus a 3-3. We're a little bit black heavy, so maybe there's an argument that's slightly better mana distribution, but we're going to be wanting green mana early, so let's just pretend that mana is no issue here. What would you play?
So Hired Blade is about how much value your opponent lets you get out of it, largely, in this situation, because in black-green, we cannot pass our turn and like represent anything other than Hired Blade, basically. Like,
well, we can represent
if we were
no
playing
draw.
black-blue, we can present like an end-of-turn instant or a counter spell or something. Like, there are reasons for us to play at instant speed in a black-blue deck, perhaps. But in a black-green deck, we don't currently have any plan, like any balanced plan for having instant speed anything.
Well,
So especially if we
there's
play
a couple
Hired
instant
Blade.
speed removals. There's also a couple combat tricks. There's
Sure, but if we
neonate
play
mana.
Hired Blade in game 1, like any reasonable player
Expects it,
one,
need to.
is going to expect Hired Blade in game 1 already, and then 2 will like never ever fall for it again if they did the first time.
Yeah, but sometimes it's stuff you can't play around. Like for me, the Higher Blade has
Yeah,
gone up
that happens
massively
too.
in my mind only for killing stags. Like I know it seems like a stupid reason to pick it, but like I have trouble removing stags off the board without fucking
Sure.
Higher Blade. So I don't know.
Sure. Do you understand like the general point I'm trying to make about how like we have a sorcery speed deck and we do not have a balanced
Yes.
instant speed game plan?
It screams
and
to your
so that
opponent
makes Hired
something's
Blade-
up, and therefore if they assume it's
Yeah.
Higher Blade, they're gonna play around it. And you're gonna get almost no value out of that.
That was just like the general point I was going to make, is that we are very much a sorcery speed deck, so the instant is harder to get much out of. But I can go with Hired Blade. I'm good either way.
You could go.
We do
with
have
Higher
some
Blade.
instant speed abilities that we can activate, like Neonate and Reassembling Skeleton, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. Okay. Well, what would you pick? You would pick Courser. It sounds like. I'll play it and we can see. We can compare it. I think either of them probably make the
No,
main deck.
pick the Hired Blade. Don't pick the Courser.
Why?
It's just more exciting. There's more stuff we can do with it.
More
We have
exciting.
double black costs in some of our cards. Yeah, we can have 2 of them.
Yeah. Do we want two of them? So this feels like a deck that gets value out of Marauder's Axe. We've got a lot of little weenie guys who and tokens and shit that and skeletons, and we want mana sinks. And do you like? And we've got a
has
guy.
a lot of mana sinks, I think.
So I don't think we need a 4-drop, although it's a better 4-drop probably than the skeleton, than the zombie. Maybe not, but maybe. We could use another 3, but we just picked up a 3. I feel a little bit better about that. I could be talked into either of these, and I like Axe.
I've never played Marauder's Axe in this format. I have no idea how it feels.
It's really good
this
with
deck does seem like a good one for it though.
It's really good with flyers, and it's okay with
Flyers and Menace and 1/1s and
yeah. I think it has synergy
Yeah.
with the deck. Let's grab it. All right. There's a white-green duel, and there's a really solid 5, and there's an enchant that's decent. This card is surprisingly okay. Like, I don't think it's good yet, but I get beat down a lot with the turn 3 Oaken form all the fucking time. Because you just don't. There's not a lot of quick removal. With that said,
I just take Oracle with our deck.
okay, I like that too. I think it's our first draw effect too.
Yeah, we don't have a lot. We have the Waltz, which is a pseudo draw.
Speaking of draw,
Yeah,
we're starting to get reasons
presume
to
I
have.
take that.
I was
We
looking at
might
the
take
skeleton archer. Is the only other thing. What were you looking at? You're gonna say maybe the Oaken form.
Well, there's another Oaken form, but yeah, I think we take Blood Divination.
I think we
don't see
take
why not.
blood divination too. Okay, got a mine rot for sideboard or a titanic
Or a
growth. I think
We
this
have
might
a
see main
full
deck.
deck now. We're starting to cut from main deck.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, I don't know how much room we want to dedicate to like cards which don't. Titanic Growth's okay. We sort of want to create a board stall with our deck, I guess is where I'm vaguely going, and we do have some cards which don't. Some cards which rely on us creating that, which don't help us do it, like Fountain of Renewal or Marauder's Axe, maybe sort. I don't know.
Don't
I'm
know
happy
is
with
your answer.
Titanic Growth. I'm happy with the sideboard mind rot.
Did we already
Sideboard
get
mind
a
rot
mind
is
rot?
great as well. No, we haven't had one yet.
What? Okay.
There are
this
some
is-
decks with very strong bombs, which we cannot really answer any other way than mind rotting them post board. Like we don't do great against the Planeswalker realistically.
Yes, it's true.
Although Titanic Growth sort of. It's a lot better to kill the Planeswalker with mind rot than with Titanic Growth, I guess.
Yeah, but man, I think the best combat trick in the set right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only our second one. 3 if you count Hired Blade.
Yeah, there are good arguments for both. It's just a matter of which thing we need to worry about more.
I think I lean towards the
having
growth.
combat? Okay, sure.
And okay, we'll see. Maybe we'll get a Mind Rot. Second Oracle seems pretty solid. You like Colossal Majesty?
Colossal Majesty has absolutely annihilated me.
Yeah,
in my life.
I don't know. We have only a couple 4s, like 5 maybe. Would you play it main deck? We have
We've got the
axe.
Marauder's Axe as well.
Yeah.
It would probably be a sideboard card, but it's like a level of sideboard card where it is a bomb in some matchups. Like very specific matchups, but in those matchups it's a bomb.
That's so exciting you say that, because no one has ever described that to me that way. And no one has ever described this as a sideboard card. So like that is the type of insight that I'm really interested in hearing. I would pick Oracle here and ignore that entirely, just because it feels like...
Do we have room for another Oracle?
I'd probably play it over Bog Stomper. I might not play Fountain of Renewal here, although it does a similar style thing. Just we didn't get any Epicures in the end. Not terribly excited about that, maybe. I don't know is the answer. I don't have a good sense of cutting as we go. Do you want to do some cutting now and look at the deck?
I think we have been cutting.
Well, I've been cutting some nonsense that's clear cuts, but I haven't started doing the hard decisions yet.
I think all of the cards that you have in your main deck are reasonable main decks, though. Like, I think we're...
Sure, but we're over cards already, right? We're 17 lands.
Yeah, we're 1 over. So the point is just
Presumably
that
2
we're
over.
maybe not getting
Oh,
that
right,
much
once.
value out of another Oracle, which is a, solid main deck card versus a sideboard card, which could come in particular matchups and just be incredible in them.
I'm gonna
Even the Skeleton Archer, like there are going to be some decks which have 1 toughness creatures, and if you think Rock's Oracle is a better main deck card, that doesn't necessarily mean that in a world where you're cutting cards already, like Skeleton Archer might be a better pick because you bring it in matchups where guys have a bunch of 1 toughness stuff.
I guess that
You can
brings a
start thinking about
conversation
this
that
stuff now.
I think those are both really good points. I don't know yet the deck that you think this would go well in versus as a sideboard card. That doesn't make sense to me yet, but I hear the
Like
Archer.
a very similar deck to ours.
Like a
is
slow kind
the
of
answer.
stally deck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But to offer a counter argument, this offers consistency in our draw effect, right? Having 2 of them as opposed to 1.
Yeah, it's like a pretty decent smoothing card for our top end of our deck. But
Is
I
that how
think
you
in the
see
matchups
that? I see
where
that
we
as a
care-
value card. Like getting us a 4/2 body that probably trades okay, and then an extra card on top of it to outvalue the opponent. I don't see this as smoothing because our top end is the 5 drops.
Mhm.
And I'm not arguing for
Maybe
this. I
we're
want to hear
just
the
using
thinking.
the different word. Maybe we're just using a different word for the same thing. I meant like it's going to help us spend our mana on turn 6. That's what I meant by smoothing. But
I'm
like,
gonna
in-
take this because
in some way, that's
I want to love this
valid.
card, and I want to see this work for us in the sideboard. So I'm gonna grab this because I just want to see what you're discussing, and I'll throw that in sideboard right away. Do you like an Epicure or a 3rd Dissenter?
ooh, we got both.
I think I'd grab the Epicure. Yeah, that came all the way around, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and they like nobody else at the table took a black card.
Yeah.
We have a Blood Divination, and we have a Marauder's Axe, and we have, I think, Doom Descender is insane
And the Harpy.
in this deck.
You don't
Yeah, I
you
think
don't like the
Descender's
neonate
absolutely
Fountain of
insane.
Renewal Epicure Blood tick 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 to go with our.
No, I don't care as much about that.
Okay. All right. The only color this is the only one that is in color, and I think at this point we're not splashing red or blue. We have a red thing. You want to splash a Crash Through?
Not very much.
Yeah, neither. There's another neonate.
Yeah, I'm happy with another Neonate. Many playables.
Yeah. It's funny because you talk about not getting enough playables, and I always get too many playables in this format. And that might just be me
Well,
not drafting
it's a
correctly.
very strong argument for the dual land that we picked early.
Okay. How about a Sideboard Rift? Just for the joy of destroying someone's land. Okay.
Sure, that could actually come in like a matchup. Maybe you would have to be drinking to make it happen.
Ooh, I could drink. You want to do drinking today? We're recording today after. I could do drinking.
Oh my god.
I'm a little hungover from last night, but I mean, one of the ways to fix that is just to drink again. All right, let's start. Let's start cutting. So Take Vengeance is our second pick. Really, we didn't really see white cards to support it. I think the only other white card decision that was relevant was probably the Murder versus the Angel and the Luminous Bonds versus I don't remember what we took in the end, but I don't think we're playing white. Yeah, okay.
I agree.
I think I overinvested in a first pick the other day and lost the deck because of it, or rather the deck became worse. This is 43 of 40, so presumably we're cutting 3 more cards. We ended up with no synergies on the Fountain. I could be talked into cutting that. I know you don't like the card. We have a fuck ton of 2s, probably too many, but I actually like all of our 2s.
I don't love is the Druid of the Cowl.
Interesting. Although we did end up with mana stuff between the neonates
no,
and.
Fine. I would definitely cut Fountain.
Okay.
I'd probably cut Two-Headed Zombie.
We're not looking to pressure them early.
I just probably think Two-Headed Zombie is worse than you do. Like Two-Headed Zombie, Hired Blade are the worst cards in this deck outside of the 2-drops in my mind, and our 2-drops are probably too many. We probably have to cut. Something.
Oh, we have very, very light 1s and 2s over here. Or
we
very,
have
very heavy.
Reassembling Skeleton and Ravenous Harpy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Feels like a combo.
Yeah, we definitely want the mana from Druid of the Cowl.
I think the same argument for Waltz.
I think Marauder's Axe might cost too much compared to the other stuff we have, but I'm not sure.
There's not a chance I'm cutting that.
Mana.
Not a chance of cutting that. Like any game that any game that goes wrong here is gonna be potentially saved by the axe. Like the axe on the spider blocks some of the big 4/4 stuff. The axe on the skeletons hold off lots of fucking ground pushes. I don't want to cut Dissenters or Skeleton with Archer, Demon, and Harpy. I don't want to cut Druid because I think our mana is going to be, and I don't want to cut Green Seeker. I guess I'm leaning towards, I'm not cutting removal. We have very light removal. It's just Murder and Rabid Bite for direct removal.
You could cut a Neonate.
I like
we have
that.
enough stuff to spend mana on.
I like that a lot.
As exciting.
Okay. So this is our deck. What do you call it? You think we should call it Catastrophes?
I would call it Draft Deck.
Okay.
I'm loving that you're still getting into the lore of this user interface.
Yeah. Well,
you're not even interested in the lore of Magic the Gathering. You're just interested in the lore of.
To be fair, I only name my decks when I play on stream. I don't name them off stream. But I feel like
name
for
it
chat.
After a viewer who like donates.
Yeah, that's it.
Right now, let's auction it.
You want to auction this? I bet you we could probably get 10 cents. But I don't want to stake my reputation on that.
See if I have any bits.
I
have so many bits.
You know what? I think we just named this after you, Steve. JoinRBs's Catastrophe. Is that how you spell catastrophe? Really? Is there a Y? Do you really spell it with an E? Have you ever written catastrophe as a word? Like anywhere? Have you ever written it?
Yeah.
Where?
That's how you spell it.
Where have you ever written it? Okay.
I'm pretty sure I've written it in ancient Greek even.
Oh, thanks for the bits. I'll take your name into consideration and use this instead. All right.
Is it directly from ancient Greek?
Chat thinks we're going 2 and 3 with this.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going 2 and 3 with this.
Catastrophe means like downturning in ancient Greek.
Sure. I think. What do you think? Okay, this is important. Deck prediction. What do you think? What do you think we're doing with this deck? How many wins?
You're piloting it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're welcome to be part of that. So. Would you say 100 wins or too high?
200.
200. All right. So on a 5-point scale, because that's how many wins we're allowed, up to 5 wins or 2 losses, where would you put it?
I think we can get 4.
4.
Wait, we'd have to go 4 and 3 for that to be true?
We can only lose twice.
You can only lose twice, so that would be a 4 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can get 4.
4 and 2? Okay.
We could easily get 5 if we
I think we
play
get
the right things. That's the thing. You're asking me, like, in a binomial distribution where p equals 0.65, which of the results do you think we'll get?
yes.
I don't know. What?
No, this isn't about that. This is about looking good on stream by nailing your prediction, and it's easier to do that with a lower prediction because then you can just throw games to make it the prediction come true. All right, but okay.
That's good thinking.
Yeah.
Like, just predict 2. Like,
Yeah.
I think that this deck's really bad, but a player of my caliber could probably pull off 2 wins.
Yeah, right.
You, like, get 3 and everyone's...
Exactly. And
Everybody
it's
claps.
long-term branding.
Obama's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like the
That
Bog
sounds
Stomper
great.
in this deck on the high end? Over something else? Okay. Just because we need a high-end creature?
I think big creature is great here.
I don't feel like we want quite this. I think we want a little bit more green. Maybe 2, but maybe 1 more. Like, we do have double black. We have double black on 3 and 4, which is a little bit awkward. But we do have a lot of green that I want on 2. I have 2 green
Yeah,
I
I
want too.
agree. I would go more forest for sure. I
Okay.
don't think it's recognizing that you have a dual land very well. Or maybe it is and it just doesn't think very hard.
This is 8
think-
versus 9. Or 8 versus 10. For 8 green and 10 black. You
Yeah.
like that? I like that.
I'm generally a lot more happy going like 10-8 than 11-7.
Okay. All right, let's call this game. You ready to start? What's our most feared enemy? You think bugbears?
7 spells in our starting hand.
Oh, you're gonna go. I was thinking the opponent, but
Are
I
you
suppose.
gonna like walk into the game, get mind controlled, and start trying to kill yourself?
I mean, I did save up Fireball for exactly that moment, so we're not just gonna pass on that. All right. Okay. So, besides mana screws, what is your favorite part of MTG? So
I like building constructed decks for formats.